A very warm welcome to all our viewers and welcome to a new edition of Africa Today, our program bringing you all the latest news and events happening inside the African continent. Of course, today we have a lot in store for you, and we start straight away with a look at some of the news making the headlines, where President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi said Sunday he's set to hold talks with Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed in Russia on the Renaissance Dam under construction on the Nile River. That, of course, is a major concern for Egypt. More details in this report.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has announced that he would meet with Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed in Moscow to continue discussions on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. In a televised talk during the Armed Forces 31st Culture Symposium, President el-Sisi said that many of the statements made about the dam issued by social media users are exaggerated. He called on all Egyptians to deal with the issue in a calm, wise and balanced way. President el-Sisi also said that if what took place in 2011 hadn't occurred, the country would have reached a consensus solution on the dam and the matter would have been much easier. The president pointed out that the state has developed an inclusive plan since 2014 to solve Egypt's water problem, pointing out that 200 billion Egyptian pounds have been spent on water recycling and desalination plants. The president also asserted that this sum will increase by 70 Egyptian or 80 Egyptian billion pounds next year and is expected to hit 900 Egyptian billion pounds by 2037. On Friday, the Ethiopian Prime Minister called el-Sisi to thank him for his congratulations for the Ethiopian leader receiving the Nobel Peace Prize. During the call, the two leaders stressed the importance of overcoming any obstacles to the dam negotiations in order to reach an agreement that fulfills the hopes and aspirations of the peoples of the three countries, Egypt, Sudan and Ethiopia. Earlier this month, Egyptian officials said that talks over the matter had reached a deadlock and called for international mediation. Ethiopia has dismissed the calls for mediation, saying it has faith in the trilateral negotiations.
And continuing with our news, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi on Monday congratulated the Tunisian people on electing Kais Saied as the new president of the Arab country. Sisi said on his official social media page that he wished the new president success to serve the interests of Tunisia and its great people, hoping further constructive cooperation between the two countries in all fields. More details to follow.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi congratulated Tunisia's new president Kais Saied on his electoral win, expressing hopes for more cooperation between the two countries. President el-Sisi said on his Facebook account that he sent his congratulations to the Tunisian people for electing a new president, wishing Saied success towards the best interest of Tunisia and its people. He also wished for more constructive cooperation between Cairo and Tunis in various fields, composing a common vision to resolve various issues of bilateral interests. President el-Sisi's statements came on Monday shortly after Saied was announced president by a landslide victory. He won 72.71% of the votes against contender Nabil Qarour. 55 of Tunisians' eligible voters turned out to cause the ballouts. The presidential elections took place on Sunday, a few months after the death of President Beji Said Essebsi in July.
And to our final news report, Sudan's new transitional government met with the rebel leaders on Monday, kicking off peace talks aimed at ending the country's year-long civil war. According to a power-sharing deal, the Sudanese transitional authorities have 6 months to make peace with the rebels. Last month, some rebel groups signed a draft agreement that detailed a roadmap for the talks, trust-building measures and an extension of a ceasefire already in place. More details.
Peace talks between delegations from Sudan's newly curated council and a number of rebel leaders were held on Monday in South Sudan's capital, Juba. The discussions were aimed at ending the country's years-long conflict and came a month after the two sides agreed on a plan and a series of trust-building measures, including the extension of a ceasefire already in place. The Sudanese Council delegation is headed by General Mohammed Hamdan Daglo, while the rebels' representative team is led by Abdelaziz Al-Hilu, leader of the Sudan's People Liberation Movement North. Also in attendance in the Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni, and Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta. Sudanese Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok has been tasked with leading the country during the transitional period, but he has said he also wants to end the conflicts with the rebels. According to a summer power-sharing agreement between the army and pro-democracy movement, the transitional authorities have 6 months to make peace with rebels.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm now delighted to be joined over the telephone by my guest this afternoon, Dr. Raouf Ghaffar, the political analyst. It's a very good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon to you.
Sir, now South Sudan, of course, is hosting peace talks between the transitional Khartoum government and the rebels. What are your thoughts on the significance of this move?
I think it's about time. It's high time for the south of Sudan to forget about ethnic and tribal differences and reconciliate and start to think about building their own country.
Yes.
This is one country that is very, very wealthy, full of resources. And it's a pity that all of this is wasted because of differences that can be worked out.
Yes.
So I think that this peace, this kind of get-together and with the presence of a few heads of state will help establish safety, security, and peace in this country, and probably they will reach a final agreement between all the factions, and as I said, they will start building a very economically strong country.
Indeed. Dr. Raouf, now moving to Sudan, the authorities have introduced goodwill signals, including, of course, dismissing death sentences against 8 of the rebel leaders, releasing more than a dozen prisoners of war, etc. What is your take on this? And do you think these moves would lead the talks to end a long, really, years of civil war in the country?
You're talking Sudan itself?
Yes, Sudan, yes.
Yes, the era of President al-Bashir was very, I should say, bad, if I use a nice word, for Sudan, yes. Unfortunately. And they lost a lot of things, of investments, of opportunities. I mean, it was an era that we hope will never be repeated. Now that they have a new, carefully selected government, I think that they are on the right track. I mean, we are hearing about lifting their name from the terrorist hosting countries and supporting countries, which I think will happen very, very soon. We are now hearing about new investments and fresh money coming in to Sudan. I think that the vision of the new government is a peaceful vision, and all the fights that took place in the last years hopefully will stop and end, and the relation even with South of Sudan.
Yes.
We are now hearing that they are ready to sit together and agree on the different issues of differences between them regarding some rich areas that lie between the two countries. I mean, in general, the whole area will develop positively.
Yes.
And Sudan will see a big positive development in the next.
Indeed. Dr. Rauf, you mentioned the issue of removing Sudan off the list of countries.
Can you raise your voice a little bit?
Yes. So you mentioned the issue of removing Sudan off the list of countries.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear us? Dr. Rauf, can you hear us now? Hello? Yes, doctor, are you with us? Right, ladies and gentlemen. All right, a short break, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be right back to fix this technical errors.
Yeah, no, I can't. I mean, the voice is now, I can't.
The African culture is rich in wonderful music which encompasses a big number of polyrhymes and melodic modes in addition to various musical instruments. The traditional music of Africa, given the vastness of the continent, is rich and diverse with different religions and races having many distinct musical traditions which added a lot to the African music and art. The traditional African music is the most of the continent is passed down orally and continuously from generation to generation. It depends on improvisation, dialogue, reaction, and the simplicity of the melody. Moreover, the African music is different from other kinds of music as it consists of pentatonic scales, unlike other kinds of music that consists of heptatonic scales. The African nations were the first in the world that were acquainted with music, as we find that the primitive religious rites are accompanied with big number of songs and hymns celebrating the success of a hunting journey, the beginning of a new season, getting rid of evil power and magicians, the birth of a new baby, and the healing of a patient. The traditional
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Rauf, you're back with us on the line, sir.
Thank you, yes.
Yes, doctor, I was asking you, you mentioned the issue of removing Sudan from the list of countries that support terrorism. How feasible is this in the near future? Do you think the U.S. will indeed take such a step? And how has the presence of Sudan on such a list affected them negatively?
Well, I mean, of course, I mean, the reason it was listed was the actions and of the now that things have changed, and the government is really, I mean, representing the people. They don't have any fanatic sort of
undertones. Yes.
Ideas, etc., etc. So things in front of the whole world is changing, and the world is convinced now that Sudan wants to develop, and they are not. They are ignoring all their differences, and I mean the regime in particular changed. So now I think they are eligible and they deserve to be listed out. And our president, being first degree neighbor, of course, and being on top of the African Union, has raised this issue and has addressed the United Nations in the National Assembly meeting toward this direction. And I think that the Secretary General of the organization said repeatedly that he is aspiring to lifting Sudan from the list. And probably the United States as well is rather in the same, again, direction. So I think that, yes, Sudan will be lifted, hopefully very soon from this, and they will concentrate on their issues and the development of their own country.
Indeed. Dr.
Full
Raouf.
of wealth, full of resources, a very rich country that needs a little help to flourish. And I think they will get it.
Doctor, now, how do you view the ongoing political process in the country? We've seen steps from Khartoum restarting talks with the rebels. We've seen further political dialogue among the different parties. We've seen the historical declaration that was recently signed, etc. How do you see the political process in the country now moving forward?
I think that the new government is very much pro-reconciliation. They want to stop all the hostilities. They want to stop all the conflicts. They want to stop all the fights. And they are looking at a better Sudan. And I think they will do that. And as I said, this is a rich country that has a lot of resources, and it only needed a government that really cares about their own country.
Yes.
And this is what is happening now. We will be hearing about inside reconciliation within Sudan itself, and we will be hearing about agreeing on all the different issues between Sudan and South Sudan, and against Sudan and all the neighboring countries. And I look and see Sudan in a few years growing very positively.
Indeed.
As far as the development is concerned.
Now, of course, the transitional government, according to...
Your voice again disappeared.
All right, Dr. Raouf. I was going to ask you about the transitional government, which has about 6 months. Can you hear us, Doctor?
Hello.
Right. Another technical difficulty, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we do apologize to Dr. Raouf, who cannot hear us. Dr. Raouf? All right, ladies and gentlemen, apologies for this technical error. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we wrap up today's edition of Africa Today. Many thanks for watching.